All right, here we are. This is episode 12 of Shadow of the Colossus. So we're going to be going to another lake. It's kind of a constant, a fair constant in this game. But this, I will go ahead and say this. Now, I have mentioned several of the Colossi as being one of my favorites, or oh, this one is really neat, or this one is really cool. But this one in particular, this one, the 12th Colossus. This one is my absolute hands-down favorite of the bunch. When we get to it, I will, well, to be honest, here's what's probably going to happen, because there's there's one specific subject I kind of want to discuss in this episode, and that's about the music of this game. And so, in lieu of talking over about the Colossus and everything, what I will do is, as I am getting to the 12th Colossus, which, by the way, its unofficial name is Pelagia. The developers referred to it as Poseidon. As I'm getting there, I'm actually going to talk about Kow Otani, the composer of Shadow of the Colossus, who I think turned in easily one of the best soundtracks for any video game I've ever played, especially with regards to an orchestral soundtrack, which more often than not I'm not a fan of. Very rarely do I ever get very excited about orchestral soundtracks for video games. It's not because I think real instruments suck, far from it. It's just that a lot of times when I hear orchestral soundtrack, my first thought is, oh boy, it's going to be a bunch of ambient noise with temp music in the background. All it does is just set the mood, but it doesn't actually do anything. It's not really, you know, melodic or interesting to the ear. But Kow Otani absolutely nails this soundtrack. Now, you probably never heard the name before, or maybe you have, but you more than likely have heard music that he's composed previously. Like when I first played this game back in 2005, I had a little bit of a revelation, as there was a piece of music that you will hear during this, I believe during this Colossus encounter, and it, like, at the time, it didn't really fully dawn on me, but I kept thinking, okay, this sounds vaguely like something else. Like, I've heard this music before. I've heard something like this before. Kow Otani, the first time I ever heard his music was not this game, though it took me a long time to figure out where I had heard his music before. Kow Otani was the composer of the orchestral music for Mobile Suit Gundam Wing. And of course it's what is it? Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. He was the fella who composed all the music for that anime series. And so I heard his music well before I ever heard his music in this game. Incidentally, he's also worked on other anime, Outlaw Star, I know he did. He also did Zatch Bell, if anybody remembers that. I vaguely remember Zatch Bell. I remember it was like, it seemed like it was fairly popular until it just kind of disappeared. I don't know what really happened to it. He's also done some film and television work. You can check out his Wikipedia page. It's got a full list of everything he's ever done. The one thing to note, though, and it's may have been why he got this job in particular. Kow Otani actually, he worked on a Godzilla film. He worked on Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, apparently. So it would seem appropriate that he would do a game involving a bunch of large, giant beasts. Of course, these aren't kaiju, but you know, just the thought, like, oh, he did a Godzilla movie. Of course, he did a Godzilla movie. Why else would they get him for a game like this? Because it does absolutely fit the mold. But here's something you may not have known. So Kow Otani, he has worked on other video games before. I think most notably he did Kow Odyssey, which is some kind of flight simulation game that I've never really heard of, but apparently he did that. But one thing I found out literally yesterday, and I like almost passed out when I found out, because it never would have occurred to me that he'd have worked on this game. But he actually did work on Diablo 3. So regardless of what you may think of Diablo 3 at the moment, that game has gotten just a little bit cooler because Kow Otani did some music for it. Admittedly, he's credited for additional tracks, apparently. So he didn't do anything major. But again, he worked on Diablo 3. So I'm kind of vindicated for sorta kinda liking that game. I don't think it's perfect by any stretch, but I mean, hey, Kow Otani did music for it. But yeah, go check him out. Go check out his work. Like, next time you're watching Mobile Suit Gundam Wing or something, like, keep a very close ear on, I mean, I think the biggest telltale sign, especially if you've heard the music in Shadow of the Colossus, listen for any songs that have strings in it. Any musical pieces in Gundam Wing that have that utilize string instruments primarily, it will sound almost exactly like stuff you hear in Shadow of the Colossus. It's actually uncanny. So I have a hard time parsing that out now, because it's like, oh, I hear this piece in Mobile Suit Gundam Wing and I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like Shadow of the Colossus. But I guess, well, this is strange. I feel like I'm a little lost, which is unfortunate, but that is the nature of this game sometimes. I feel like where I'm going is fairly obvious, but I'm clearly not going the right way. And it's not, I'm pretty sure it's not there. That doesn't make any sense, because I need a body of water, and this is not it. Whoops. It's okay. Wander can take it. He's pretty sturdy. But I guess I should note, if you're familiar with Mobile Suit Gundam Wing and you're familiar with the music of Gundam Wing, there is a piece of music that is associated with a character in Gundam Wing called Treize Kushonada, and I forget the name, the title of it. It's got a really, like, kind of over-the-top title. Like, it's the man who would make history, or something like that. Anyway, that particular piece of music, that particular piece of music is very similar to the piece of music you're going to hear when I start the fight with Pelagia. I mean, it's real. You could argue it's just a straight up. Actually, now I know where to go. It's like a straight up. Like, you could really honestly argue it's like a straight up remake of this musical piece for Treize Kushonada. It's really cool. So just keep a very close ear on that when the fight starts. Whenever that might be, by the way, because I am not 100% sure that I am doing the right thing. This cannot be right. I should not be anywhere near a desert. So let me double back a bit. I guess I could talk about Pelagia for a second, since I did flat out say that it is my favorite Colossus in the game. Pelagia, a lot of the reason I like it is, well, it's on two different reasons, really. One is the design of Pelagia. I think it has arguably the most unique design in the game, as far as the Colossi go. And more importantly, its design is so evocative of, well, a lot of things. Like, the entirety of Pelagia's design is basically sort of kind of telling a story. And I really like that. It's the only Colossus, I think, that falls into that category, where there's a lot of sort of unspoken, you know, and not highlighted storytelling going on with its design. And of course, secondly, and probably more importantly, the fight itself is actually rather unique. And I know I've been saying that a lot, but this one is genuinely different than the other Colossi in the game. This one has a few extra steps than just the normal Colossus fights, and I don't know, it's a really fantastically designed encounter, and I genuinely enjoy it. Plus, it's got some of my favorite music tracks attached to it, so it's not too surprising that it's my favorite. I just think I think it's a really well done Colossi fight. Like, honestly, if I were to show somebody this game and I wanted to kind of convince them that this was a game worth playing, this would be the one I would show, because I think it perfectly encapsulates everything about this game that I love, and does so in a method that is just efficient and just really well done. But also, we get to go through this little forest area. I don't know if this is the same one as where the oh, which one was it that I had to fight? It wasn't... I forget which Colossus it was that you had to go through the forest area to get to it. Well, Aggro, if you don't want to cross that... Well, it might be a little too deep for you now that I think about it. Okay. Looks like across the way there, but how do I get over there? Clearly don't want to just jump off this cliff. That's probably not the best approach. Let's go over here for a moment and see what we can find. Just love the look of this place. This little spot right here is just really nice. Really well done. That's right, I gotta be in sunlight to catch any sort of hint as to where I need to go. I mean, I think it's across the way over here. I'm just not really entirely... Whoa. No, it's... So hard to get a read on it, because, you know, again, I think I've mentioned this before, but you gotta be in direct sunlight for your sword to actually point you in the way you need to go. I mean, that's obviously instant death, so we can't do that. Okay, let's double back again. No. I just love the sound design of this game. It's so well done. I mean, visually it's great, but I mean, audio is just wonderful. Now, let's call Aggro again. Let's see if we can get her back in the fray for a bit. Extremely harsh sunlight. Goodness gracious. I wonder... I feel like this might be getting me somewhere. Like, really though, I mean, you could almost just run through this whole game instead of just taking aggro. I mean, it would take a lot longer, but I mean, you probably would encounter and see a lot more that way. And I believe this is the right track. I believe I think I'm going the right way now. But yeah, that's what I intend to do. So during this fight, you're not going to hear any commentary from me whatsoever. I'm just going to dip out. And I'm going to let the audio and the fight itself kind of explain itself, because I think it's just appropriate. It's my favorite one. I have nothing to say about it. I have nothing more to say about it. It's my favorite. Oh, and there's a lizard though. Oh, Aggro, no. I do not want to shoot you. Oh my goodness. That I don't even know if you can do, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you can actually shoot aggro with an arrow. I would hope not. But I would not put it past the developers that that would be a thing you could actually do. I don't know why on earth you would ever want to do that, but there we go. Extra stamina is always good. We have this very convenient little spot to heal and make sure I'm good to go. But yes, just as a reminder, again, make sure that make sure that when I get to this fight, make sure that you're listening very closely to the music. And don't worry about me. I will be... In fact, I think I'm actually going to cut out right now because we're getting dangerously close. So just remember, Kow Otani is an amazing composer. His music in this game is phenomenal. All his work is phenomenal. And you should go and listen to it as soon as possible. And keep in mind, this is my favorite fight in the game. It's Pelagia, also known as Poseidon. Thank you for watching in advance, and I hope you enjoyed everything so far and everything to follow. Goodbye.